Okay.
All right. What do you qualify for so far? Are you more than one owner? Is it just you?
No, it's just me on my LLC. It's a Georgia LLC. So far, I have an EIN number, my checking account. The business has been open for 6 months.
Okay.
Basically, the company is called Grizzly Delivery LLC, and
Okay.
what I've been doing is like telephone book delivery, like direct marketing type thing, door to door.
Sure.
Stuff. I do have a whole set of skills and things that I do that I'd like to add to this company, being that it's open and being that I just learned about federal contracting. I'm kicking myself because I don't know how I missed that all these years. Engineers, we feel like we're so smart, but that just goes to show you, there's a lot of stuff out there, But I'm just hoping, this could take me to a different level, and I think it's a blessing. It's, like I said before, it's an honor just speaking with you, man. But to answer your question, I think I qualify for the 8A, definitely the SAM's registration, and I'm located in a HubZone right now.
Awesome. Now, you mentioned you're kind of kicking yourself in the tail that you didn't learn about this a long time ago. That's actually a good thing, because up until 2010, the federal system was, I don't want to say impossible, but almost literally impossible for a small business to work in.
Okay.
There was so many hoops to jump through and so much red tape and bureaucracy. It was crazy. Do you remember something passed back in 2010 called the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, the ARRA? A lot of hoopla, a lot of talk about it. It was a great idea. It was one of the few things that both Democrats and Republicans were agreeing on. Congress didn't take a whole lot of time to deliberate. Of course, they tied some stuff on the back end of it like they always do, but pretty much passed with flying colors. The problem was, the goal of that program was to guarantee small businesses get contracts, to make it, that's how Obama was going to save the economy, is to guarantee more business to or government work to small businesses, which make up 98% of our country.
Right. Exactly.
You can actually see right here. There's 1.2 million for-profit vendors in SAM. Over 900,000 of those are inactive. That only leaves about 330,000 active for-profit vendors. Now, more than half of those are the Raytheons and IBMs of the world, but let's just say, for argument's sake, half are big, half are small.
Right.
That only leaves about 160,000 small businesses that are active in the system right now. It's not a whole lot. When you compare that to the fact that there's almost 30 million small businesses in the United States, and only about 160,000 of them are actually active in SAM and can legally sell to the government. That's less than 1/10. It's less than 1/100%.
Why is that, though?
Because the system's been so difficult for small businesses, most of them don't even bother.
Okay.
And up until 2010, there was nothing done about that.
Right. Right.
Out of that 160,000 small businesses that are active, our organization, U.S. Federal Contractor Registration, we've done 80,000 SAM registrations. So we're technically responsible for half the small businesses that are actively selling to the government right now. Okay? We've got a few competitors out there that are trying to do what we do, or they do consulting, or they do parts of what we do. But all of those people combined have about 10% of the registrations in SAM. We have about 50% of the small businesses that are active in there right now, okay? Just so you know who we are and how big we are. Secondly, up until 2010, there was really no incentives for purchasing agents to hire small businesses. It was a pain in the butt to hire a small business. It's much easier for them to just hire Raytheon to come out and do something
Yeah.
than to try and buy from a small business, you know?
Right.
So by 2012, in 2010, they decided that a minimum of 23% of the federal budget should go to small businesses, right?
Okay.
And actually, let me go back here. Okay, so they set aside 23% of the budget to small businesses. They also were going to guarantee 5% to minorities, 5% to women, 5% to veterans, 5% to ADs, 3% service-able women, 3% HubZone, right? Sound great on paper. It was a great idea, really was. But by 2012, no one was doing those 23 or those 5% with any of the small businesses or women or minorities and veterans because it was almost impossible to hire you guys, all right? Let me pull that back up. It was facts. That's right. Okay, so by June 6th of 2012, the President Obama sent out this addendum to everybody, top deputy perks, top deputy secretaries down to small agency, small business directors. And basically, in a nutshell, he said, how come you're not doing 23% with small businesses? How come you're not hiring 5% women, minorities, and veterans? And the purchasing agents replied, it's hard to. It's difficult. He said, well, then if that's the case, I'm going to cut your budgets. If you're not going to do what I ask, I'm going to cut your budget. And a lot of these agencies said, go ahead and cut it then. There's nothing we can do about it. You got the rule of two. You ever heard of the rule of two?
No.
The rule of two means they had to get at least 2 quotes. How else are you gonna make sure your price is fair unless you get a second quote to get compare it to? So
we always did 3 quotes in. I'm sorry to interrupt. We always did 3 quotes in when I did construction.
I suggest 3 to 5, but we'll come to that later.
Okay.
The purpose was if they couldn't get a second quote, they weren't allowed to award it. Well, there's not always a second small business that's compliant and active within the service area to get a second quote. So, of course, a lot of times it was impossible. So Obama said, then I'll tell you what, if you can't get a second quote, as long as the price is reasonable based on what they've paid for the service in the past, so they can compare your quote to what they paid before, and if your quote is fair based on what they paid before, they can award it without getting a second quote. So the rule of 2 was no longer mandatory. Now, you know as well as I do, people in general are lazy. When you tell people they don't have to do something, they're not going to do it. You're going to see a lot of opportunities in the system that have been awarded where there was only 1 offer received because the rule of 2 is no longer mandatory, okay? So Obama said, okay, then you should be able to hire 23%. They said, no, not so quick there, Mr. President. These contracts used to be $25,000 and under. If you're an agency that has a $100 million budget and you're supposed to award $23 million of that to a small business or 2 small businesses, but you have to do it $25,000 at a time, are you kidding me? That's a statistical nightmare. It's almost impossible,
Right.
So they increased that limit many times. They increased it from 25, 50, 150, 300, a million, 2 million, 5 million. The suggested threshold now for women, minorities, and veterans can be up to $8 million they can award to you, okay? But that brings another problem. How are you supposed to be able to afford to do that? What small business has $8 million worth of revenues laying around that they can use to do an $8 million contract or half of that or whatever? None of them. So
you got to float. You got to float the job.
Yeah, you can't afford to do it. So they said, getting rid of the rule of 2 and increasing the limit's great, but it still doesn't help with the actual problem. Small businesses can't afford it. So Obama said, all right, I'll tell you what, we'll prepay. We'll give them money up front, a deposit or half or even the entire amount need be. Pay them up front so they have the working capital. That's unheard of. That's never happened in the past. If you told me that, I'd call BS because there's no way the government's going to pay up front. Well, they are. And they actually, they put it in a system called Federal Procurement Data System to show you this. That's what we're going to look at next.
Okay.
All right.
Do you think Trump is going to change any of this, or should he make it even better?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
In our favor, or no?
I think anything he does that's not in our favor, I'm going to find a loophole or a way to take advantage of it.
Okay.
Definitely. I always do. No matter what the government does, I always find a way to get advantage out of it. Now, keep this in mind. Obama, he's pretty cocky, right? But I don't think he's going to come in and just change everything that Obama put into place. And here's why. Because if he does that, he's setting the stage for the next president to come in and do the same thing to him.
Yeah.
No one wants to be that president where the next president comes in and says, "Oh, this guy was terrible. We're changing everything he did." Because once it's in place, once the president decides to do it, it's history. It's in the books, right?
Yeah.
So he'll probably, if I had to guesstimate, he'll probably modify Obamacare, but I don't think he'll get rid of it altogether. But even if he does, that doesn't affect us. So whatever changes he does make, I think are going to be minimum. And I don't think they're going to affect the system much. And I think a lot of the changes he's going to do are going to make things better. And if not, I'm going to find a way to make it better. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
All right. So what we're going to look at is a system called FPDS. This is where the government tracks set-asides, okay? Set-asides are the contracts that are set aside for women, minorities, and veterans. How do I look at the next document? There it is. So it's set-asides, contracts that are set aside for small business, minority, women, veteran, 8A, HubZone. This system, FPDS, only tracks set-asides. So it doesn't track all the spending. Not one system out there tracks all the spending. The government will never, ever be that clairvoyant, all right?
Gotcha.
PDS.gov. You don't have to write this down. I'll email you all the links.
Okay.
Okay. This is where they track the set-asides. This is where they prove they're hiring women, minorities, veterans, and small businesses. We're going to do a search under simplified. So we see the simplified acquisitions.
Okay.
There's 13 million simplified acquisitions in this system, which means if this system only tracks less than 10% of the total spending, there's more than, 13 million, there's more than 130 million contracts that have been awarded under the Simplified Acquisitions Program, all right?
Okay.
We're going to look at one that's over 25,000 because under 25,000 is still a different purchasing process.
Okay.
And we're going to look at one that's not awarded to a big business.
Okay.
Okay. This contract, 12/9/16 to 12/8/17, it's a one-year contract. It's almost $1 million, $963,000.
Right.
This business is a minority, woman-owned small business. They have an 8A.
Okay.
And it doesn't tell us what it is they bought, but we can see that this was done under the Simplified Acquisitions Procedure. It was an 8A sole source, and look at how many offers received.
One offer.
That's it. So this is a prime example. Now, they weren't paid up front yet. They may still be because this was just awarded Friday, right? Yeah. Right. This was just awarded Friday. They might not have funded it yet. So they may still pay them up front. When they do, it'll show another obligation amount. It'll say current. So let me look for one of those so I can show you. Okay, so this one's over 25,000.
Okay.
All right, see where it says action obligation and it says based on all options?
Right.
They were given $25,000 up front, $25,171.20. They'll collect $135,391 total by the time this is done. This company's a woman-owned small business. And this is done as a simplified acquisition, small business set aside, and there was only 3 offers received. Now, way back in the day, I used to broker hard drives and memory and computer stuff. If we got 3 or 4% markup, we were happy. We were thrilled. If there was less than 15 bidders, we were happy. There's only 3 offers. That means out of every 3 contracts you submit, statistically, you're going to win one. That's pretty good odds.
Yeah, that's amazing odds, John.
Okay, this one was done for freight. They were paid $33,000 up front, so it says current. They'll collect $52.97 once it's done. Was also done as a simplified acquisition, 3 offers received. They're not minority or woman, they're just veteran owned. See that?
Yeah, I see that, just the veteran contract.
Now, this is what you're looking at, all right? You will qualify for the 8A eventually, but you're not ready yet. You've only been in business 6 months, you said?
Right.
You have to be in business at least 1 year before we can start processing your 8A, and we can't finalize it until you've been in business 2 years. You got to have 2 tax returns.
Okay, I got you.
All right? So this is going to be the goal for you and I over the next year. Number 1,
okay.
You need to win as many contracts as possible from different agencies, from different people, from different clients, residential, commercial, industrial, state, local government, county government, city government, federal government. You need as many contracts from as many different entities as possible. You cannot have all your eggs in one basket, okay?
Definitely. That's what I figured. And I'm going to need your help with, figuring out the different contracts to go for, to bid for and everything. I have a whole lot of skills. I don't want to be limited to just, delivery or, initially what I set my company up for, Well,
if you've seen enough of my videos, you've seen me talk about TV Guy, and that's exactly what he does. He's a broker.
Oh, okay.
I teach people how to broker, not just freight, but anything.
Yet. I haven't gotten to that video yet, but if you could send me that link, I'll go straight to that video.
I'll actually send you a link with all my media on one page.
Okay.
All right. But your goal over the next year, I need to help you win as many contracts as possible, because over-reliance on any one client, meaning more than 70% of your gross revenue stemming from one client, is a problem, and you're not going to get on an 8A if that's the case. You have to be diversified. You have to have a portfolio of contracts, all right?
Definitely. Now, let me ask you something quick. So I don't need 8A or HubZone to win a contract?
Well, you can't do the 8A. You're not ready. HubZone's a different story. HubZone, we're going to look at that next, okay? But what I want to show you right now is what you do qualify for and what you don't qualify for.
Okay.
Right now, at this point in time, okay? How's your record? Is your record pretty clean?
Yeah.
Keep it that way.
Oh, no doubt.
Not that you're going to go out and get in trouble, but DUI or domestic violence or any kind of even non-felony convictions can cause a problem. And if it's a felony, you're pretty much guaranteed you'll never get an 8A.
Okay.
All right, so stay out of trouble.
All right.
The last thing is, and you'll understand this, okay? When you land the big one, when you hit a big contract and you make a lot of money, do not go out and buy stuff. Okay, I know, yes, you work hard. You deserve to take care of yourself. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, you definitely deserve to take care of yourself. But if you go out and you buy stuff this first year and your personal net worth goes over 250,000, then you won't qualify for the 8A.
Okay.
All right, not including your house. You could live in the Taj Mahal, but everything else you own, cars, stocks, bonds, motorcycles, RVs, rental property, deer lease, anything, gold, diamonds, it's all part of your personal net worth. It has to be under 250,000, okay?
Gotcha.
So for the first year, put the money back into the business.
Okay.
All right? Now, that's it for 8A. So let's take 8A out of the picture for now because we don't qualify at this point. HubZone, on the other hand, you have to be owner of the company, which you are. You have to be a small business, which you are. Your business has to be located in a HubZone. 35% of your employees must live in a HubZone. Not the HubZone, but any HubZone. And you can't have been declined or decertified in the past. So you said you've already checked you are in a HubZone.
Yes, definitely. They give you that map with the orange section and everything else that's in gray is not in the HubZone. There's like a orange area.
Correct.
Yeah. So I do fall in that, and I entered my address and said I qualified.
Awesome. As you hire employees, you need to hire employees that are in the HubZone because the bigger you get, the more turnover you're going to have. You know that.
Right.
And if you don't maintain that 35%, they will kick you out of that program for not keeping that.
All right.
They literally kicked 600 people out of the program not too long ago because they didn't maintain 35% of their employees that live in a HubZone.
Okay.
All right?
I got you.
All right.